You haven't done an investigation.
We want to get the voter rolls.
You haven't.
Oh,
Mr. Essayli,
we're doing the investigation.
You are just that's different. So then you have not conducted an investigation. You are conducting one. Do you know how many cases of widespread fraud I've covered? One, and it was the Trump administration.
Chris Cuomo just done what a lot of interviewers won't. He refused to allow a Trump-appointed federal prosecutor to push election fraud talking points without any evidence. In this clip, we're going to see Chris Cuomo get into a heated exchange, not so much heated, sorry, but a tense exchange in which he corners Trump's California Attorney General and doesn't allow him to push Donald Trump's election lies. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'll give you guys my thoughts towards the end. Let's get into it.
Bring in Mr. Bill Essayli, First Assistant Attorney for the Central District of California. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for taking the opportunity to have this conversation.
Good to see you.
Do you know, sir, at this point, like right now, can you say we have big questions about potential fraud in California?
We do have big questions about fraud in California. Let's just deal with the facts for a second. We do have election fraud. We charged a case just last month. I'm not sure if you covered it, but there was an individual who was caught on video paying homeless people in Skid Row to register to vote with false information. That's not a theory. That's not a suspicion. That is a case that we filed, and she has pled guilty to that. So that's a conviction. So we have multiple cases in that vein open on election fraud. Now, the question that, you ask, and many is it widespread? How much is it? Is it enough to sway an election? Well, the answer is we don't know. No, you can't say no. You haven't done an investigation. You don't know. No, you don't.
Oh,
you don't know because we have not been able to
You haven't done an investigation.
We want to get the voter rolls.
You haven't.
Oh,
Mr. Essayli,
we're doing the investigation.
You are just that's different. So then you have not conducted an investigation. You are conducting one. So you don't know, and you are in the business of knowing. Right now, you don't. You are pointing to one case, and you know what? You could point to a dozen. Do you know why? Because those are all the cases you've made in the last decade. A dozen individual cases.
I did not say. I did not say
half
that
were found
we
to be lacking.
Found wide-scale fraud. There's two different things going on here. You're saying for sure you know. Hold on a second. You're saying for sure you know there isn't. I'm saying we don't know because we haven't been able to look at all the evidence at scale.
Yeah, but no.
Why is that? Let's talk about the voting system in California.
Mr. Essayli, if you were in a court of law right now, and I don't need your opinion on the system because you're not a voting system expert. You're a prosecutor. That's why I have you here. If we were in a court of law and you said, Judge,
I was in the legislature. I was in the legislature on the election committee. I know a little bit about California's voting system. Yes.
So wait a minute. You want me to take somebody's experience in a state legislature for how long?
I was there. I was in the legislature for 3 years. I've been involved in election integrity long before that as an attorney. And we could talk about.
I've covered elections for 30 years, Mr. Essayli. 30 years. You know how many cases of widespread fraud I've covered? One. And it was the Trump administration.
All right. Okay. Under federal law, we're entitled to audit California's voter rolls. Under multiple civil rights statutes, we're entitled to audit those.
Yes, you are.
The state is resisting.
Yes, you are.
Why is that?
I know.
Why are they resisting?
It's a bad look.
The best way to deal with all this is to have transparency and to give people, like Chris, I don't care what the outcome of the election is. We want people to have confidence in the systems and that the laws are being followed.
I agree.
So yeah, when California lets you register to vote with a gym card, that is not a good system. When you can register to vote with a debit card, that's not a good system. When you don't clean your voter rolls, that is not a good system. When you legalize ballot harvesting, which is illegal in most states with no chain of custody, not a good system. And then you ask us, why don't we have evidence of wide-scale fraud? Because
the last part is inaccurate.
What's inaccurate?
The last part is inaccurate. The other ones are good arguments. They're just political arguments, not legal ones. And again, you are in a legal capacity, not a political one. Okay? Maybe you're getting them confused because of the legislative hat or being in the Trump administration. But if you were in a court of law right now, Mr. Essayli, and said to a judge, Your Honor,
tell you why we need to audit the rolls.
Excuse me, sir. Hold on a second. I'm not saying you shouldn't audit the rolls. I was nodding along and saying, yes, yes, while you were saying we have every right to audit the rolls, and the state saying no is a bad look. That's what I said, a bad look. All right, so I'm with you. But if you were to say to a judge, Your Honor, we don't know that they didn't do it, that is a bullshit standard. Now, it works in politics, not in law. That's what I want to make sure you know how to keep straight.
We have not charged the state of California with wide-scale voter fraud. We're conducting an investigation. We have not brought a case, and I guarantee you, when we do bring cases, we will have plenty of evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. That is how we work. That is how we speak. I have not provided any specifics on any case. I've simply told you there is evidence of voter fraud. We are looking into it, and when we're ready to bring those cases, you'll see the evidence. You'll see the case. We'll make it in a court of law. But we want to instill confidence in the elections, which is why we are seeking to audit the voter rolls. And that, to me, is the best way to alleviate most of people's suspicion. We have a system that breeds skepticism and distrust. We should have a little transparency and confidence in our system.
I'm all for the transparency. I'm all for it. Thank you very much. Appreciate you making the case. When you have evidence you are willing, that you can present to the public, obviously, you are more than willing to have a platform here to do so. Everybody's got to trust the process. And thank you for watching.
So the thing for me that's quite telling about all of these guys, just like a video that I done earlier on today, these guys are so hell-bent on widespread fraud, but they can't produce a single lick of evidence and, a single case. They can't make a single case and take it before a court and a judge that is compelling enough that it can actually be taken serious. You can see it from this clip as well. And the reason why you can see it from this clip is because, did you see how easily he moved the goalposts? When he was pressed on widespread fraud, he then retreated and fell back to, we're conducting an investigation. That right there is the tell. You don't spend 4 years screaming rigged and then admit you haven't finished looking yet. Unless screaming was never about the evidence. It was just to sow seeds of doubt so that your base can go on social media, can make a fuss about something that is just not there. And this is the problem. The MAGA election fraud machine runs on exactly that logic. Assert the crime, demand access to voter data to go looking, and then use the quote-unquote investigation itself as proof that something is wrong. And Chris Cuomo, much to his credit, he names it directly. That's a political standard and not a legal one. Now listen, I'm not here to try and act like I'm a massive fan of Chris Cuomo. I am not. That is not the case. But I believe he done well here in calling out the foolishness that Donald Trump's very own Attorney General is trying to do. Now, what we have to understand is this. This isn't just a random individual. This isn't a random pundit. This is Donald Trump's very own installed federal prosecutor. Someone who has the ability to be able to charge people. He has actual power, and he can't produce a single case of actual voter fraud that has taken place. Instead, he gives a few instances of where it's been, and then maximum, that side of the aisle can only produce a dozen examples over how many years of voting. These guys are not serious. Like I said earlier, it is not about truth. That's not what it is with these guys. And the reality is this: the voter roll audit demand is the next play in their playbook. Because if you can get access to the raw voter data, you can mine it. You can look for anomalies, you can misrepresent them publicly, and you can keep the fraud myth alive without ever having to prove it in a court of law. That's not election integrity. That is opposition research with a federal badge and playing the game so that it works in your favor, not for your opponents. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this exchange down in the comment section below. See you guys in the next one.